Protoss, and then we can watch TVZ forever. Okay. I sound surprised. I'm not surprised that people want to remove Protoss. It's a very expected thing, especially when your Protoss players look like this guy. Ugh, Harstem. Ugh. You gotta support this guy? He's the ambassador of Protoss? Really? He's the P? Oh my goodness. RagnaroK in the bottom right-hand side is from AlphaX. Of course, Harstem is from Liquid as you kick off this best of 7. 2 maps between Harstem and RagnaroK starting right now. Let's see what happens as we get this up and running. I do expect this to be... I don't think that Harstem's going to be able to force this into a late game like he was last week against Dark. I'd be surprised if he was able to do that. As RagnaroK comes down, looking for a 16 hatch, doesn't have the money for it right away, so he'll start one more drone as he sees it's going to be blocked, and he's going to send that drone out to take a 3rd hatchery location instead. It's just going to be setting that up. Yeah, I definitely think that Harstem here is going to be the one under a lot of pressure. I think RagnaroK is going to be bringing the fight. He's loving those timings. He's loving to hit with, Lingbane and Hydra, 60 drones or less. That is RagnaroK's way of playing this. However, I gotta say that Harstem's style also plays well against that. He was not building a ton of Void Rays. He was teching up very quickly, getting disruptors out quickly, and those are the sort of things that help you stay safe against these kind of attacks. So maybe we see a little bit more of that a little further down the line. He actually just forced a drone off the mineral patch twice now, and RagnaroK goes back to fixing that, but... yeah, nice little bit of micro here so far from Harstem, just being very annoying in this corner. And is just going to try and, just trying to bully the drones around. You can see he's forcing them to move around a bit. This sounds crazy, but, the end effect of this can be 50 to 100 minerals of mineral mining time lost. So there's actually pretty, there's a lot you can do with that. It's one of those things that just, you've got to take any early game advantage you can get in Starcraft 2, right? So... Probe wants to stick around anyway, wants to try to keep an eye on things. No reason to send it home too soon, so I may as well stick in that main base and be annoying on the mineral patches. Probe coming up, Ling gonna jump on it. Wardy, any chance to get Harstem to co-cast you with you when Team Liquid is not playing? I don't think it can happen for World Team League. Because Harstem doesn't have the rights to stream it, right? So Harstem usually co-casts with us when he can stream it, or if he's not streaming, sometimes he records it for YouTube. But for him, there's no point in joining us to cast if he can't get anything out of it, right? So I imagine he'll probably not be joining us for World Team League stuff. It's a bit weird anyway, because we're also on a clean feed, so it's like if we can't get our clean feeds to sync up, it might be a bit tough to... I don't think that's the end of the world. I think that's something we can work around easily, but it's just something we'll see. But yeah, I don't imagine Harstem will join us, because like I say, usually Harstem joins us and he puts the cast on his YouTube, or he is streaming it anyway, right? So he's creating his own content while doing it. So yeah, just probably not going to happen, unfortunately. Trust me, I like having Harstem around. Nothing like spending my day getting bullied. But unfortunately, Harstem wouldn't get paid to bully me, so I don't think he's interested. Alright, Void Ray to come out and gonna go chase down this Overlord to start us off. So an Overlord goes down to begin. Oracle on the way to the Nexus Star, and I mean, no surprise just yet. Harstem kind of playing as you would expect Harstem to play. I don't think there's anything too surprising about this just yet. The Ling is showing up on the 3rd base. It's going to be a cancel, and that's a really nice cancel. Slows down a lot of what you want to try and get done here is Harstem. 3rd base slowed. You lose a few Lings for it, though, as RagnaroK, so it doesn't come for free exactly, but still not bad. Those couple of extra depths were just not right in the right place, right, and so they were out of position. Gonna try and get into the natural. The Oracle's there to defend. The 2nd Void Ray now on the way up. Still waiting to see what the next tech along is going to be. It's going to be a Robo. So it looks like we're going to go to 3 or 4 Void Rays here. Again, nice quick Robo. So definitely looking to tech up very quickly beyond the Void Rays. And that's something that we saw Harstem doing last week as well, as that's a little bit of a misfired probe. Gets fixed as he puts it onto the gas. Flare on the way up in the main, just going to be seeing the Oracle turning back around on the right side, so getting out of there, just going to be seeing that Rotron about to finish. But the RagnaroK building the lair definitely doesn't seem like he's going to be too aggressive just yet. Now right now, if we're going to see an aggressive RagnaroK, it's going to be something based around 60 workers, but he's just taking every single gas, which you don't need for Rotrav, just so he's absolutely going to tech off of the lair. So what's he going to tech into? Obviously, the real options are going to be maybe he drops down a Spire and does something really crazy, or he goes into a Hydrosten or so. That's kind of his two choices here. Is going to be seeing this Adept. Gets cleaned out. A few probes going down. Nice little run by on the third base. Harstem does drop a second Stargate alongside his Robo Bay. Let's start to see where his priorities lie. Drops a Revelation on the third base, but I feel like he's missing information in the main. We are going to be seeing a Spire. I wonder if this is because RagnaroK recognizes that Harstem likes to go into the faster Robo Bay, doesn't get the Void Ray count quite as high, and maybe feels as though there's something of a timing he can do around that with that Spire, where usually the Spire is not ideal in this kind of situation. Now we have seen Spire play work against Void Rays, but more often than not, the Spire play usually kind of fizzles out against Void Rays. I actually really hated the Spire against Void Rays until Raynor played it, kind of ahead of Katowice and in Katowice. Then he kind of showed us that it was pretty good still, but not a lot of people have been able to replicate that style. It's definitely not something we've seen a lot of since Katowice as well, so interesting things to keep in mind as Harstem will see that Spire building in the main base. A Void Ray pulls out to the left-hand side. It's going to go for the Overseer. It's being whacked away at. It's going to go down a few moments. Harstem trying to deny information wherever possible. Obviously, the less you see as RagnaroK, the less correct decisions you can make while being fully informed. As he continues to keep these few lings out on the map, obviously banking up money, ready to build all the mutas, and uh-oh, Harstem's figured it out, huh? He's building Phoenix. I think he's recognizing why are there no roaches on the map, you know? If there's no roaches on the map, what are you doing? Where's your gas going? If there's no hydras on the map, where's the gas going? I think he's starting to realize that this is going to be mutas. This is a fantastic setup for Harstem. I mean, that is a, he's on his way to a fourth base. He's going to have multiple Phoenix out by the time the mutas arrive. I mean, Phoenix 3 and 4 already building up right now. This does not really get much better than this, right? It's that observer that just gets him to see everything. I'm just going to be seeing the Anion Pulse Crystals starting as well. Like, he even sees the mutas popping out, right? So he's able to see all of that. And with all of that being seen, he's then able to make that decision and say, oh, right, you know, well, you actually are really making mutas as well. You're committing to this. And he's going to have, what, like 6 Phoenix? The biggest thing is the fact he's on his way to Anion Pulse Crystals. That's an upgrade, which is going to mean, you know, these Phoenix are going to be much better against the mutas than they usually would be. RagnaroK runs right in. Again, the fact he's still building mutas is terrifying because Harstem is so well set up against this. Immediately, RagnaroK now drops a Hydrogen and a Baneling Nest. I think he's ready to move on from this muta style, but that's a hell of a lot of money to invest. And Phoenix are still useful in the later game as well. They can get lifts, they can harass. You know, it's not, they are units which will still find some value here outside of, you know, chasing down these mutas, whereas the mutas, what are they doing? Their value right now is taking up some Phoenix shots. Maybe they can trade out for a Phoenix. Yeah, Phoenix range is so broken in this situation, right? Harstem just destroys this muta count. He's just going to fly through, and he's just going to make sure he takes down the majority of them. Now he's going to start going in, getting a couple Overlord kills. Yeah, go finish those off. 3 kills, right? So RagnaroK is in some real trouble here, as Harstem is obviously feeling pretty safe, so he says, right, let's go to carriers. +2 attack on the way. I actually don't know what RagnaroK does right now. He's building an infestation pit. He's got to have something of a plan further down the line. I imagine Harstem's just going to go 6 carriers +2, you know, air weapons, and you just commit. I don't know what else you really do from this situation. I mean, I think that's just... I don't know what RagnaroK does from this situation to survive that attack, you know? Like, he's going to have to do something crazy, because he's just going to be on pure Hydra against that carrier army. I feel like... Let's see what the infestation pit's for. I imagine you just go Infestors. What does the Hive give you right now? He's going to build the Hive. But what does the Hive give you? Like, what do you get off the Hive tech? Vipers? Vipers for what? So you can drag the carriers into the Hydras, the carriers that want to A-move into you anyway? I suppose so. I just kind of thought maybe the Infestors give you some fungals, and maybe you can work with the fungals, whereas I just feel like in this scenario, the Viper's just not going to necessarily find that much. Also, adding on some additional gateways. Like I say, +2 attacks coming. His second round of carry is going to be done soon. He's already collecting out the front. Looking as though he's getting ready to move forward as there's that observer going down. But boy, did that pay for itself. That's the reason he knows everything that's going on. That's the reason he's so well set up right now here in this first map of Team Liquid versus AlphaX World Team League Week 3. Phoenix pull back once more. Additional gateways going down from Harstem in the main base. He's going to have a lot of production and Templar Archives to produce with as well, so he's going to be able to push out Archons. The only thing I don't like for Harstem is right now it doesn't necessarily feel like he's going to be aggressive. He's taking the 5th base. He's not looking as though he's going to go and attack, right? And that's the one thing I feel like could just be a little concern if he lets this game go on and gives RagnaroK a chance where RagnaroK never really should have had a chance, right? Those probes are given up. Obviously just wants to free up supply. He had 90 workers. He did not need 90 workers as there's a Baneling run by top right-hand side. Observer doesn't know what to show for the best. There's going to be seen an attempt to attack in on this left side. I mean, he's just going to move in towards these Hydras. They are going to get melded. Phoenix showing up as well. The Banes up top are going to be interesting now. We'll kind of like to see those because I feel like they're going to start dealing a lot of damage. Awesome. Oh, he had a Stasis Ward catch the few on the first angle. And the problem is the Banes are coming in from like so many different directions. There's nowhere good to run the probes to. And I think this is a moment where Harstem should just kind of say, you know what, that's a lot of, again, it's a lot of units you're giving up. Let's attack. And he is attacking down to the bottom side. There is not really an army up right now that can fight against this. We're going to see these attempts to move in from the Hydras. There's some Queens to support, but the Phoenix can obviously lift up a bunch of units as well. Harstem's supply is very low right now, but it's not his army that's lacking. It's his economy that's lacking. So if he can just keep on fighting with this army, right now he's not losing anything in these trades. He can push in, and obviously if he takes down this army, he's going to be able to just, he's got an unkillable army, essentially, is what I'm saying. And I do kind of agree with that sentiment that this army is somewhat unstoppable. I mean, RagnaroK's going to lose a lot of overlords here. He's going to start losing bases, right? That's the inevitability of when this army of Harstem can't actually be cleaned up. I'd like him to go on the Hydras, though, right? Just to make sure they never amass to any sort of numbers that can actually win this. Harstem is down, 43 workers lost, but he's actually back up to 60 probes. He's been producing probes like a madman. Zealots and cannons trying to hold on over here. Thing is, his carriers are still doing a great job, and you can see the supply of RagnaroK is slipping away, and Harstem's PvZ is showing up in this tournament as Harstem picks up the first map here for Team Liquid. Beautiful scout on the Spire, knew about the mutas, played against them perfectly. Harstem set up targets right off the bat, right? So I think he just decided to go Spire because he felt as though he could hit a timing where if Harstem has like 4 voids in the 4 voids in Robo production started, that the Spire really does have an opportunity to deal damage. The problem is, obviously Harstem just saw it right away, and his second Stargate was on the way up. And I feel like that's just something that just fell apart very quickly there. I mean, Harstem saw it so soon as well. The fact that he nearly had Anion Pulse Crystals finished at the timing of the mutas arriving. You know what I mean? Like, that's ridiculous. Game number 2. I mean, what a great start for Liquid. I mean, a map here off of RagnaroK, and we'll see how it continues. Obviously, if Harstem could pick up 2 maps, then that would be massive. MaNa plays Astrea next as well, and MaNa Astrea is an interesting one. That's one I don't really want to call, Like, to me, I think MaNa Astrea is that series which both players can win. Both players can go 2-0. It could be 1-1. It could be anything. So any map Harstem can take right now is going to be a big one. You've got Clem Zound down the line as well. Big match here today. Big match. Let's see, Pro pulling back to the main base. A hash gas and pool all setting up. Getting this ready to go. Awesome, just with that block initially as well. Pillars of Gold is RagnaroK's map pick. So what Pillars of Gold does mean is that it's going to be much more difficult for Harstem to sit back and relax up the carriers, right? This is a much more aggressive map. It's very easy. I mean, this is the map where I would say Queen Walks were kind of designed for almost, right? You can march across very easily, very quickly. It's typically a very open third base to attack into as well. You've got to move down a couple of ramps, but you don't usually defend that far forward as a Protoss anyway. So you usually get an open space to attack into the defense. And that's why a lot of Protoss players, if they do end up on Pillars of Gold, they do sometimes go for that Resonating Glaive style instead, something which can be, you know, a little bit different. You're not relying on the Void Rays defensively, you've got the Adepts, you're bringing the fight to the Zerg player, you can look to end it early, or take an advantage early that can then, you know, snowball into your win further down the line. So we'll see what Harstem wants to do, see if he wants to change it up at all. There's also the potential of it being Stargate into Glaives as well, if you want to mix it up a little bit further. Right now it is going to be a Stargate, so you're going to be seeing him at least start with the Stargates. We'll see exactly what route Harstem wants to take with this over the next few moments. Hopefully what's hanging out overhead as the Adept is going to start producing, and just going to see our Warp Gate coming up as well. Yeah, Stargate's going to be finishing up and just going to be seeing our hatchery coming into the natural as well. Nothing really to talk about just yet then. You have the whistling winds of Pillars of Gold just very quietly in the background, because they still haven't added continuous music to these games, to the World Team League stream. Again, there's not much I can do about that, guys. Just was hoping that we'd have continuous music at some stage of this, but apparently not so far. Speed's about to finish up, and just going to be seeing the Void Ray, his building from Harstem, in this main base. Getting the Void Ray up and running as the drone is going to move across as well, out down to the third location. Game has a way different vibe without the music. It does, doesn't it? It's one of those things that you don't really realize it's like when it's there, but when you take it away, it's very noticeable. But then also, it starts up and it's really loud again. Because all of a sudden it's like, down, 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 down. And you're like, oh my goodness, where'd that come from? Alright, so a couple of drones going down. We are just going to be seeing the Robo facility producing right now in the natural expansion, so getting that set up. As Harstem has obviously just played this Oracle opener and that Robo, and yeah, we kind of go on. Rotron starts up here from RagnaroK. Harstem picked off I believe that was a Cryptium out the front he just got rid of, right? And looked elsewhere at the wrong time. Anyways, Rotron, very similar setup to previously. Void Ray production is continuing from Harstem. That's also similar to before. He's going to go for that second Stargate post-Robo once again. Well, this time I'd be shocked if RagnaroK ends up going for that Spire. And right now we're not seeing him. Okay, he's going to start adding gases now. This was the time at which last game he took every single gas possible. This game he takes 4 out of 5 that are possible. So, gotta imagine this is not going to be a move into mutas this time. Maybe sticking around that Roach Ravager a bit longer. Probably a Hydralisk Den coming down. Let's see exactly what you want to do. Here's RagnaroK. Depends in what way you want to be aggressive, right? Or how soon you want to be aggressive as well sometimes. Takes the final gas now. So it's going to end up on 6 gas in the end. Harstem just dropping down that Robo Bay. That's something we never really saw much use of last game. This game will have a much higher value, I'm sure, if this is going to be any sort of Roach or Hydro production. Obviously, Disruptors are very, very good in those scenarios as the units try and make themselves known about, but Queens are there and pushes the Oracle back. A couple of Adepts on the ground just to support. It's not really, still not a lot of units, right? As 63 drones and Roachling producing, but also more drones as well. So RagnaroK is not done with droning, going to 4 bases. Looking as though he's at least happy to kind of build up into a little bit of a later stage of this game. It's not the same build. He didn't go Disruptor last game. Well, it is the same build, but last game he scoured a Spire, right? So he didn't go Disruptors. He stopped with the Robo Bay and he just went to Phoenix instead, right? So it's the same build. It's just, you know, at some point you change your build up because, you know, it's 7 minutes in game. I think it's fair to say the same thing happened, right? Well, Changeling in that main base. Keeping an eye on things. The Spire's coming down again here from RagnaroK, so A little bit more kind of Roachling focused initially, but we'll be looking for that Muta switch, and this time there's not going to be a ton of Phoenix in preparation for that. So maybe this round of Spire action is going to be a little bit better. It's coming through, the Oracle gets pushed out back down the bottom side. He's going to start the Fleet Beacon up, but that's not for Anion Pulse Crystals. That's because I think he wants to start trying to make his way in towards carriers, so I'm actually going to start seeing a bit of a ground push here. Ravages just start morphing, so maybe here's the plan, I think, for RagnaroK, because he's going to go and push, he's going to be aggressive, and then he's going to switch it into a Spire behind him. I'm not sure what that Observer's actually seen from Harstem. Has he seen the Spire? I don't think so. I think he would have been doing something a little bit different to what he's doing right now if he had. I'll tell you what, there's not a lot of preparation on this third base. There's basically no static defense, and the only battery has just gone down. Void's come forward, going to meet these Ravages in the front as the Queens are just kind of trailing behind, so they're not really going to be here for this, as obviously Disruptors love to fire at Queens because Queens are not very quick, so they don't split away very easily. And while you don't actually, you do kill one Queen here, but while Queens don't die to a Disruptor shot, they're forced to use their transfusions to stay alive, right? As that next Disruptor shot went a little bit too soon. We've got another one that just came around, so that one's going to be able to fire in a moment or so. He's going to fight. It was the Ravages. Oh my god, nice split from RagnaroK. As RagnaroK's supply is already trailing, he's stacking up so much money. So I don't think this fight in particular is that scary. I think what's going to be scary for Harstem is going to be the follow-up Mutalisk switch. Preparation for is somewhat minimal. Of course, you're very distracted trying to deal with this, right? So again, and maybe not scouting across the map as much. I mean, we will see. There is just a possibility these Void Rays are going to be enough to defend. He only lost 3 probes in this, and RagnaroK gave him pretty much his entire army. So now, he is banking absolutely everything on this Mutalisk attack. Because if these Mutas don't do damage, RagnaroK is in a horrible position. He just lost everything for so little to gain. So you're going to see the carry and the Void Ray continuing through. The Muta's going to continue to the upper right-hand side. Well, Phoenix production has just now started. Third Stargate comes in as well. Let's see what Harstem can do, as preparation in the main base is minimal. And this is where RagnaroK is going to start finding a little bit of damage, as Voids are going to start to chase them down. Of course, Voids aren't as quick as Mutas. Oh, that's massive. Pylon's going down and the Stargate's unpowered. You're going to see the Mutas are going to dive on the Void Rays. I mean, Void Rays are not the best of fighting Mutas, but there's a point at which Void Rays are still just going to be okay anyway, right? As these Mutas getting chased around again. I gotta say, the Mutalisk count is dropping. And that's a pretty big deal, taking a lot of losses on those Mutas. And a couple of cannons here just to try to soften them, but a few Stalkers warping in. Feels like Harstem's got this pretty well under control. Yeah, he took some initial damage from this, but I think that's very allowable considering this was a tech switch that was unseen when it was coming in. You see now RagnaroK going to try and attempt to get into the Hydras. So here's the question, is how hard does Harstem commit to the Phoenix? Last game we obviously talked about, you know, the Phoenix still useful against Hydras, and they were. You know, they showed up and they lifted a few Hydras and stuff as well, but at the end of the day, you still want to make sure you've got something, you know, at some point you want to move in toward those carriers, right? So the question is, can he get to the carriers safely still without the Hydra timing killing him? When you only have 2 or 3 carriers, that Hydra timing can be pretty deadly. Right now, RagnaroK can't really afford much of it, though. That's what these Mutas are for, to try and give him a bit of a better position setting up into that. Phoenix is going to fly through, help out. I mean, RagnaroK is just sat here trading. Harstem is losing out on a lot of these Void Rays. The Phoenix, about to have that Phoenix range, about to have that aid to help them out a little further. Harstem's just lost so much here, though. The only good news for Harstem is that he will kill every single Mutalisk on the tail end of this, but he has way less to defend against, you know, for example, the Hydras now. He's going to start building carriers. Like I say, you get rid of every Muta. There's a few Lings here and there. Harstem is just missing some bits and pieces to really wrap this up a little bit. Oh, that was a lot of stuff being lost out there. Hurts a little bit. Just and everything else gathering back around the bottom left-hand side. An Observer gonna escape away up the left as well. This RagnaroK in it's a really weird position to judge. I don't know how good a position RagnaroK's really in. If he fights right now, okay, there's not a lot of carriers. There's about to be 3. But it's also still +2 air weapons. It is Phoenix that can offset that carrier count a little bit. I don't know if it's necessarily enough. To be honest, I'm not sure why the Phoenix cancel out. They saw the Hydra's coming in. Okay, just gonna get a couple of drones here. A little bit of damage done. 84 probes, 82 drones. The economies are pretty darn even. Neither player really taking advantage on that. I mean, this is just gonna be RagnaroK moving across the map. This is a question of can Harstem defend. He's got a lot of supply caught up in production, namely the carriers still. And I do feel like Harstem's stack defense has been somewhat lacking here as well, right? He's not been able to set that back up. I like what RagnaroK's doing with the Banelings coming around the right-hand side, looking for a connection on that right side as Harstem gets distracted on the left. He's got a wall off here to buy him some more time. He'll have disruptors to start firing once that wall falls. Here comes the Banes, a couple of cannons. No Bane speed yet, so Harstem's actually going to be able to get the Phoenix over, and then he's going to lift up a bunch of those Banes. Not really many probes going down. Now, these Banes not having Bane speed makes this attack a little bit comical. It's like slow Banes waddle forward. We can be useful, we promise. Disruptor shot goes off. Still a couple of Banes around here as the carriers have lost their interceptors. This is what I was worried about. Being able to deal with the Hydras in some way. The disruptor count obviously went down earlier. This is a decent disruptor shot. Is it enough? Questionable. I mean, the Hydras come back over the left-hand side. Now, Harstem not minding the fourth base as well at the moment. He's going to lose another of his disruptors. That's definitely an issue as the Phoenix are going to start committing. He's got a couple of interceptors to fire through with as well. The Hydra count is going down. A lot of Lings reinforcing this. Is it going to be enough? Man, these Hydras... A Phoenix lift goes off once again. This is dead close. I mean, the last few Hydras are going down. Lings are still chasing probes. They're going to go up and be blocked from getting into the natural. Disruptor there holds them off. The big part of this is the carriers are still alive, and the interceptors are going to keep on rebuilding. Never clearing out the carrier count is going to be the issue for RagnaroK at the end of the day, because that's going to give Harstem this backbone of an army that can just survive, that can stay strong. And he's got a new couple of disruptors coming up as well, and that's massive because those extra disruptors are going to be able to give him something to really help chunk away that Hydra count and to force that Hydra count to move as well. Similar to a storm coming down, it forces the Hydras to back away, split up. You know, all of that time where those Hydras are moving is time in which they're not dealing damage, they're not cleaning out interceptors, right? So getting the disruptor count back up and running is important as well. It's one of the big things he lost out on from the meters. The disruptor count just going down to 0 and having to rebuild from that. And even in that fight, he lost all of his disruptors again, right? Ling's getting on top, the Hydra's getting in range. And that was a big issue for Harstem. And maxed out RagnaroK is pushing again. He's got Vipers now. I think the biggest thing here for Harstem is just that his army is still kind of the better teched army, right? You know, the carrier count is pretty crazy. He's got good upgrades. He just needs... and yeah, the army size of RagnaroK is kind of scary, but this is one of those armies that can absolutely melt in a few moments if you're not careful as RagnaroK. Link Hydra Viper. RagnaroK has the money to morph in Banes as well. Not sure how much you really want Banes right now. Not sure what they're going to do. Apart from just busting. I guess just bust mineral lines, right? First Disruptor Shot going to land dead center on the Hydras. The Abduct is late. Next Abducts do not go in until a little bit later as well. The carriers are already working their way through those Hydras. Like I said, this army can melt. And guess what it's doing, guys? It's a melting. 13 Corruptors, 14 Corruptors on the way up. Now RagnaroK starts to make a move into... you know, units that might actually be able to fight against these carriers. Is it too late? Is there not going to be the support for those Corruptors that's necessary? That's kind of scary. +3 attack is about to be done on these carriers as well. Maybe not for this fight. What's big here is if you can take this fight before there's going to be the Corruptors all joined up together, right? If you can take on like 1 or 2 Corruptors at a time. Not sure Harstem can find his way forward far enough here just to get that done right away. There's 4 Crawls to pick his way through as well. He just get rid of the Hydras. He's going on to the Queens. Now he sees the Corruptors. He has nothing good against the Corruptors. There's the big problem. There's no Archons or anything underneath his army. There's no Storms to support. There's 1 Archon showing up a little bit late to the fight, quite honestly. And the Corruptor count is doing good against the carriers, but is it good enough? 4 carriers still remain. There's only 5 Corruptors left here. But back into Hydra production as RagnaroK, as Harstem's going to back away. And maybe just try and cut his losses in this one. Prism goes down, but now Harstem turns around. He's going to chase down Hydras and Queens again. Harstem started to make Void Rays, but actually with the Hydra reproduction, he's just going to want more carriers once more. Supplies dropped to being dead even once again. As we see another counterattack around the right-hand side, Harstem. Well, it's Harstem against Hydras once more. Again, I'm not as worried about the Hydras. I feel like Harstem has a bit more of a reasonable way to fight Hydras. Maybe not quite the carrier count to fight Hydras anymore, because Hydras can clear out those interceptors. Once the interceptors are gone, obviously, then the carriers are not as useful. He takes a chance to get a couple of Hydras there out of position from all the rest. Wanted to go for that queen. Did a lot of damage, but in the end just lost interceptors without picking it up. New Vipers on the way. Obviously, we saw those cleaned out in that previous fight across the map. As Harstem's pushing in once again, he's got a couple of Archons to spawn on the ground. I don't think he likes this fight, but I don't know if he has much of a choice but to take it. Now, Ling's running in on the front. The Archon's trying to get back. Prism is here to reinforce. Look how quickly these interceptors have gone down. There's not a lot of support from the carriers any longer. And that's going to be Harstem's issue, as these Hydras, they don't have to, it's like I say, the Disruptors aren't here, right? So you don't get to push the Hydras back. You don't force those Hydras to split away. Just going to be seeing the army of Harstem pulling back again. Okay, well, this has been a tense game. RagnaroK's economy keeping him in this as well, all the way throughout. Harstem's now going to start Storm. I think he's recognizing the issue which he's having. Disruptors don't really work as well at this stage. It's a bit too late for that. Resources lost heavily favoring Harstem, but of course that's why RagnaroK is up on 6 bases, and Harstem's just been on 4 this entire time. Now starting to make his way to base 5. Of course, that just gives you some extra positions to fight into as RagnaroK, extra positions to run by. As RagnaroK is maxed out, these couple of Zealots do distract for a little while and maybe give Harstem a chance to, well, to not be attacked for a few moments, right? Going to be seeing our carriers and so on moving through. Storm now done is a big deal, but if Harstem's caught out in the open, this could be problematic. This army's moving to the right. I'm not sure if Harstem knows it's down here. It looks like he's almost chasing the army, but like I said, I'm not sure he really knew it was there. I don't think he did because those Voiders kind of just ran into it. But Storm's coming down. Oh, Banelings are going to get all of the High Templar. Banelings flanking as well. And that's not pretty for Harstem. The Banes coming in from both sides, definitely hurting. We're going to be seeing Harstem needing these Archons to deliver right now. They are putting out some good splash damage. They're helping a lot against the Hydras, but the carriers have to go running in the end. The Archons go down. Harstem somewhat salvaged this, but his interceptor count is in the gutter, and he doesn't have a lot of minerals at the moment, and he kind of needs to defend this base, because without this base, he probably doesn't have the mineral income to continue either. Harstem turns around to fight for a few more moments. The Hydra count is not good enough as RagnaroK is breaking through. And we know how important this base is. Harstem trying to warp in Zealots to defend this over here. Interceptor still trying to build. He's trying to hold on with the bare minimum to somehow make this work, but the Interceptor count is so low. The carriers aren't really dealing damage, and RagnaroK knows his opportunity. Harstem and RagnaroK have played a hell of a game here on Pillars of Gold, but looks like RagnaroK is going to tie it up for AlphaX after the 2 games. Very close, though. Harstem has some good positions. Harstem has some good opportunities. RagnaroK played a great game. He was behind. Start on Jagannatha for this PvP. It's 1-1 in the series of Team Liquid versus AlphaX. MaNa Astrea will be games 3 and games 4. And let's see which of these teams will take the lead. Will it be all tied up again at the end of this? Let's find out. As we start on the bottom left-hand side, our blue Protoss player, Team Liquid's MaNa. Taking on the top right, red Protoss player, AlphaX's Astrea. How is it played? One game in NA and another in EU. I would more kind of guess that it's probably one game. I think they're both going to be NA East. Would be my way of doing this, because Astrea is West Coast. NA East should be actually fairly even ping. I don't know what MaNa's ping to NA East is, but most of the time whenever people complain about playing on NA, nobody ever complains about playing on NA East from Europe, you know? NA East is usually pretty okay. Maybe some of the, the Russian and the Far Eastern players are a little bit struggling on NA East as well still, but NA East is still a very reasonable amount of ping to play on, so I think East makes the most sense, probably for both games back-to-back here. So game number 1, important PvP as we go into Jagannatha, as we come across the map, MaNa's probe. Scouting over to try and see what's happening early. Don't believe Astrea sent a probe across the map himself, as it is going to be 2 gates against 2 gates, so both players get confirmation of that early on. The biggest thing for Astrea is, West Coast. He's currently playing at 6 AM right now, guys, and I'm not sure if Astrea is up late or awake early. I do believe he used to play pretty late at night, like he used to stay up all night to play when he played in a couple of things. I can't remember what, but yeah, it's definitely a weird time for Astrea to play, and I imagine that's why he doesn't come out too frequently here in the World Team League so far. Not a bad time for him to show up, though, right? He gets to play on NA most likely, right? And then you probably, knows these guys fairly well. I'm very interested because Astrea has been quite quiet for a while now. It's been a little while since we've seen, or since at least I've seen Astrea playing much. You know, I look at what Astrea's been playing in lately. He plays a couple of ESL Open Cups. He played in Stay at Home Story Cup, where he took a map off of Serral, of course. But since Katowice, he's not really done too much. But of course, at Katowice, you can't doubt what he did. You know, he 2-1 Zest. He 2-1 Trap. Right? And that's, in Katowice, this guy was the man to beat in PvP. Actually, the last time he played against MaNa was a 3-1 victory for him as well. That was back in the Cheesadelphia Winter Championship at the start of this year as well. But he also went on a PvP winning streak. So yeah, PvP definitely seems like the matchup they probably wanted Astrea to get, and it's the matchup he does get here. Obviously, he did play in Week 1, didn't he? He played against Maru in Week 1, I apologize. He wasn't here in Week 2, but he was here in Week 1. And in Week 1, he kind of got shut down by Maru. That was a bit of a brutal series, to be quite frank with you. Hey, thank you, Ed Bayanom, for the 6-month resub, and Fatty987 for the 52 months. Appreciate it. Also, Chisholm IBR for the 12-month, 1-year resub. Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Climate Drama 28 on the 7-month resub. Logan on the 1-year resub. Welcome back as well. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks so much for resubscribing. Welcome back to the Wardy family. If you're enjoying your stay here, don't forget to hit the follow button, of course, as we continue through today's World Team League action. Stalker's going to get rid of a hallucination here. Of course, scouting very important in these early stages of the game. MaNa on that Stargate will have a lot of scouting information for himself via the Oracle, whereas Astrea will play into the Twilight Council. Astrea will set up for that. And play into what will be just a faster blink. Now, typically MaNa will play a slower blink here then, but then you've got the Oracle to put some pressure on, deal some damage. Okay, your tech is later, but you get good information throughout. You haven't had to build those sentries or use the sentry energy on hallucinations. And that's actually a really nice Oracle. Finds the probes transferring, so reworkers go down right away. The Oracle just about able to slip out of there. There's a hallucination. Moving around, again, information is critical at this stage of a PvP. And both players are getting information, right? Astrea comes in, he'll see the Twilight and the Forge. MaNa has been in there, he's been able to check on what's around, he's been able to see what units are up. So both players are again able to pick up on what's happening this far in our PvP matchup. Our matchups decide between the opponent teams. You should really make a command for this, but there's 3 maps that are given to each team, and you basically pick a player to go onto a map. And the second map of each kind of best of 2 is decided by the loser. So you're basically picking a map for your player to start on, so that they, you can maybe play a preferable map to start on or so. And then obviously it's just random, if, in this case, MaNa got sent on Jagannatha, Astrea got sent on Jagannatha. You don't know what the opponent's roster is until both rosters are released at the same time, basically, so... It's a good way of doing it, because there's definitely tactics and mind games around it. You can definitely try and mitigate. You can definitely try and work around the idea of, getting better matchups via putting your, better players on certain maps. If this is a good Protoss map, you put your Protoss on here. If someone is really good versus Protoss, you maybe put them on this map, expecting there to be a Protoss out. And that's what I think AlphaX have done today. I think they expected a Protoss here on Jagannatha, and I think this is the matchup they wanted for Astrea. I do think this is a... looking at his PvP results lately, I definitely think this is a good one for him. So yeah. Just, very much so just focused around the idea of taking maps and stuff. It's fun. I like it. I've always liked this format of Team League, honestly. I know it's just Pro League format, but this is like extended Pro League format with the 2 maps. I like it. It means you don't just see one map of a player and they're done. See a couple maps back-to-back, better mind games, builds into the best of 7 in a good way. It's cool. I like it. System kind of results in a lot of mirrors. It does sometimes, but I think other times as well, it results in mirrors. Other times it also results in players that sort of, get sent out against someone who's good against the race as well. I think this week is not so bad for mirror matchups, right? Tomorrow's got a couple of mirrors. Yeah, honestly, this week's just not bad for mirrors at all. We only have, I think, 1, 2, 3. We got 6 mirrors in total this week, or 7 mirrors in total, and 3 of them are in the same series, so it's not that bad. But yeah, I do agree last week. But actually, to be fair, there wasn't as many mirror matchups back in the previous seasons. So I do feel like maybe the first couple of weeks have just been a bit of an anomaly. Happy to see what happens. As you just see the Stalker showing up, Immortal coming in. And as Astrea is looking to attack, and MaNa, well, this Immortal is really being kept out of the fight. The Super Battery wasn't doing much either. Those force fields are great, and MaNa is caught... Oh, just slacking a little bit. Astrea just taking a 4th base behind this as well. Now, MaNa is going to survive this. Don't think that Astrea can necessarily go in again. What was really good for Astrea that time was the force fields on the Immortal. Really kept it out. This was a bad fight for MaNa. He did not need to run down here and try and fight this. That was a bad decision from MaNa. That absolutely puts you in some trouble. And that just made life a little bit tougher than it needed to be. Especially when MaNa's the one with these Immortals out and stuff. He's already on his way to Disruptor. He does not need to go, taking fights. Play defensively. Play it safe, That was just a miss. That was obviously just a bad judgment call, right? He obviously looked at that, thought he had enough, and he absolutely did not in the end. Yeah, a couple of Mortals coming through. Force fields available, maybe? I don't mind this blink as much, because you're still up on the high ground. Your Mortals are still somewhat close to the fight. I guess maybe MaNa wasn't expecting reinforcements as well, right? Another way to look at this. Prism across the map is gonna... Sorry, Oracle across the map. I didn't know what it was, but... Saw something killing workers. That's the end of the Oracle. 4 workers go down, so a little bit of damage from MaNa. Overall, Astrea still ahead on workers. Having that 4th base up much sooner has allowed him to start mining there as well. That's going to be seen. Our 2 Disruptors continuing through. They're going to rally out the front here. Another Disruptor reducing on this Robo facility, and it's going to get into this Blinkstalker Disruptor showdown, and quite frankly, the lead that Astrea has, it can disappear very quickly when it comes down to Disruptors, right? So, yes, Astrea's definitely opened up an advantage in the first 9 minutes of this game, but we're heading to a stage of the game where advantages sometimes just don't matter. And a couple of Disruptors continue to build up. You're going to see a push forward here from Astrea. First Disruptor attempt of the game. He's not going to land as he get pushed back. MaNa losing a cannon, and again, just this pressure of Astrea building up, taking a 5th base. Thing is, he's got all the pressure on the map, so he's got no reason not to just keep on expanding. Both players going into that Dark Shrine. That's going to start aiming to shut down expansions, but again, Astrea taking that expansion nice and quickly. MaNa just can't do the same, because if MaNa tries to expand, again, because he's just kind of pushed back a bit more defensive, how do you really kind of, work around that at all? It's a little tough. It's not just a little tough, it's really tough, actually. Very, very difficult to work around that one. A Stalker Disruptor makes its way to the right-hand side. You're going to see one Stalker is peeling away. His few units down on the south side, trying to decide what to do. Stalkers blink in. Be able to grab a Zealot there. I'm just going to be seeing our Stalkers still kind of sitting around. Nexus in the bottom corner. Stalkers blink straight on that, cleaning it out nice and quickly. Well, we do have Astrea still just kind of maintaining that control. This is what I mean, right? You can't really take that base as MaNa because Astrea has the map control. And Astrea is doing the right thing with this. He's now put his Disruptors across, so MaNa's going to have to respond to this a bit better. This is not good. He's going to lose his Disruptors much faster because he's just firing slower, and MaNa knows the mistakes he's made there. Every Disruptor kind of lands, and MaNa just fired every single one of his Disruptor shots lower, and now they get blinked on. He finds one connection. I mean, that one connection is reasonable, but now you've got 0 Disruptors left over. You've got a couple more in production, maybe 2 more just finished up, but this is kind of not how it's meant to be, and obviously Astrea's Disruptor count is looking way better. Unfortunately for MaNa, this was a PvP that was just much better executed from Astrea, and obviously Disruptors always give you comeback potential, but as mentioned, right, those Disruptors of MaNa always fire just a little bit slower, and that means Astrea was killing Disruptors every time. And you just put that count down. Astrea's going to take a map here for AlphaX and put AlphaX up in the lead of the series for the first time. I think MaNa knows that was not the way he wanted that game to go. Shaking his head there, a little bit disappointed, I think. I think as well because, you know, okay, maybe I made a couple mistakes early, but it's also a matchup where you can fight back quite easily a lot of the time. We're not going in-game, we're going to the whole screen button for the Team League. As we kick off into Game 2. It's Light Shade, MaNa's map pick. Astrea starts top left-hand side. Our Red Protoss taking on MaNa, of course. Blue Protoss bottom right-hand side. I think I missed the intros because I was on the wrong section of the setup. Yo, Duke of Dangle, thank you so much for the 2-month resub on the Prime as well. And Kogod is going to continue the love, passing on the sub they got from Wish to somebody else. Going out to slow your roll, Jimmy, for the 7-month resub. Thank you so much. I appreciate that generosity. Pretty sure I can get Twitch to change it so I can keep the stats. Data won't change, save it or screenshot to reference it later. Yeah, I know, but it's very different being able to just click around my Twitch dashboard and compare, oh, what was my numbers like in this year or in this month of that year, versus having to open like an Excel file with the numbers written down. Like, it's much easier to visualize on my Twitch dashboard, you know? Yeah, I should message Twitch. I don't know if they can make it so it sticks. I don't know if it's just like, yeah, maybe I should message them. I always wondered for a long time, the real reason I didn't do it for a long time is because I couldn't decide whether to go for WardiTV or to go for Wardi, you know? So I didn't know whether to go for WardiTV or to go for just Wardi. And I think at the end I'm going to go for just Wardi. Because WardiTV is like a... WardiTV is a bit of a... You know, because I am just Wardi. WardiTV is like the Starcraft brand, but... I don't know, like maybe WardiTV makes more sense. I think if we could just get Wardi, it'd be cool though, you know? Alright guys, this is Aggression from Astrea. Enough about me and my Twitch names. More about Astrea and his 3-gate. That's obviously pretty big deal. It's just going to be seeing our probe. Checking around in the main base. Couple stalkers continuing out. We do have that gateway in the main. Just going to be seen by MaNa, not in the main, in the middle of the map. Being seen by MaNa. It's a good scout from MaNa. Knows what he's up against here. He's starting 2 sentries and he could just defend high ground. The problem is if you just defend high ground, is Astrea can still expand behind this. And if you end up just expanding behind this as Astrea, okay, MaNa's going to defend low ground. Wow. Battery on the way up. Obviously, he knows what's coming his way, right? So he obviously is, to some extent, saying, well, that's no worries. Like, he fully believes he can defend low ground. Okay. Let's see. Let's see what happens. Going to be seeing our 2 stalkers, our 2 sentries out the front there. Just going to be having our battery finishing up. As you come around the bottom and just seeing our stalkers. Okay, pushing around from Astrea. He does end up expanding Astrea, so he is going to get himself an expansion to work with. And he's getting to a scary stalker count though. With 3 more stalkers about to warp in, you get into this point where batteries don't matter. You're going to shoot through the battery the battery healing anyway. So that's where MaNa has to be careful. One more stalker's going to fire. A stalker again pushed back there. Adept's going to shade forward. I mean, Adept's going to be pretty good at tanking here. Sentry's going to pop a Guardian Shield. Super Battery goes down. First Sentry now goes down. It's another one with Guardian Shield. Guardian Shield actually lasts a while here. Okay, I mean, Astrea gets a trade out, of course, but you're kind of looking for a trade out in this scenario anyway, right? Where, you know, as MaNa, you know, you're kind of fine with that. You know, you lose 3 Sentries, you kill 3 Stalkers and an Adept. You've had a faster Nexus. I don't think that's a bad thing. Astrea just warped in 3 sentries of his own, as we're going to be seeing the few probes do not get threatened. Not going to commit those Adepts in. I'm just going to hang back for a moment. Yo, Kogod, thank you for the 5 additional gifted subs. Holy crap. Thank you so much. I'm going to read those out properly after the game. I appreciate it, though, dude. Let's just focus on the game for a few moments, because obviously things are kind of getting interesting, right? You know, with MaNa having this defense, he's on his way to an Immortal, while Astrea decides to go Blink. Does MaNa have an opportunity to be aggressive here? He can shut down a gateway. If you get a Prism up and you go across the map, I think there's some decent potential before Blink is done to get into a pretty good position right now. I've always wondered why you don't see more Guardian Shields in PvP. Doesn't it make sense to have it up since it's over Stalkers Wars? Yes, but sentries are expensive, and the problem is later in the game, it's very difficult to keep the Guardian Shield over everything, because it's only a limited area, right? Oh, man, I'm going to lose a couple Stalkers here. Nice catch from Astrea. The problem is in a later game army, it's just such a large army, and the Stalkers are always blinking, it's very mobile. The sentries don't really keep up, right? So the sentries are always going to be out of position. It's difficult to get them in the right place. It's not like a PvT army where if you keep the sentries pretty much central, they're always going to protect something. In PvP, it's much more fast-paced, it's much more mobile, and they're that kind of expense as well, which you don't want to really be spending your gas on, simply because, you know, you need your gas for your disruptors and stuff as well. So it's just difficult to get a lot of use out of them later game PvP compared to the other matchups. Alright, so MaNa still maintains an army supply lead despite losing a couple Stalkers there. This Prism has just flown into those Stalkers. Blink not done yet. Not sure you could blink down from there anyway, though. As MaNa about to get unsupply blocked. He's down a few workers again here, MaNa. He's starting to move across the map, mind you. He's going to take a third base while moving across the map. He still has the army supply lead. I think there's potential for him to get something done here. It's going to be very important for him to keep that Prism alive. He's up against Blinks. There is going to be mobility on the side of Astrea. He's got a ton of sentries, by the way, as well. Tell you what, that's a pretty big deal, because if these sentries can't really be very useful, then this is a problem. Like, right now, you're kind of assuming these sentries are going to be able to provide you some kind of, like, force field coverage and so on. If those sentries don't actually get to use their, you know, energy properly, then you don't actually have that much of a fine army as it stands from Astrea. That's why he's building so many batteries and cannons. I mean, MaNa should just see those cannons and say, okay, this is fine. I'm expanding. I have zero reason to come commit to a fight right now. Just go home. Look at it. Look at everything he forced. That's almost 1,000 minerals invested in a static defense. And okay, you might never be able to fight the natural expansion of Astrea, but do you need to fight the natural expansion of Astrea? Absolutely not in this case. You actually recall home as MaNa there. I'm not sure why. I believe you could have cleaned out the gateway and the pylon again on that middle of the map. Just going to be seeing the Robo Bay continuing through. It's about halfway done. Our Stalker Sentry army continues across from Astrea over to the far right side. I mean, he's still down on army supply, but maybe he can just take the position on this third base. No batteries here, no pylon here. MaNa's out of position, going to lose a few probes to begin with at least. He has just blinked forward here though, Astrea. Remember, he's got the force fields, and force fields are pretty powerful right now against MaNa's army, simply for the fact that MaNa doesn't have blink or the mobility that Astrea has. MaNa trying to save some of his units wherever possible. He is going to maintain army supply lead on his way to his own blink. I didn't realize Astrea also has +1 as well, though, so he's got a huge upgrade advantage, +2 over +1 coming up. And Astrea already on his way to his first disruptor, so he has much later third base, but don't think MaNa really got to mine much from his own third before Astrea's comes online as well. As we move out down the bottom side. Mortal Stalker hanging up on the high ground. We do have the army of Astrea. Gonna have high ground vision to blink in the main, and that's annoying as well. Again, the mobility is definitely a problem for MaNa right now. It's a big issue. Astrea is able to move around very cleanly. You know, he's really able to find a lot of damage in a lot of different places, and MaNa's just straight up struggling to deal with it. Now, there's a few probes that have just gone down across the map. I don't know what's happened there or what was dealing that damage, but 5 workers, something is still killing workers. I've got no idea what, and Observer doesn't want to show us it, so right now I guess we'll focus on this attack. Back over this right side, first disruptor of the game is here. This is a little scary. You don't have blink for a few more moments. First disruptor shot fires, clips just a Stalker and an Immortal. Could have been a lot worse in all honesty, as the 3 Immortals are a huge part of this defense. The last bit of Sentry energy from Astrea being used, and now these Immortals should just be able to constantly be in the fight, as MaNa will blink forward to capitalize on some low HP units, some Sentries in the front as well. Does lose his Prism, but Astrea loses quite a few Stalkers in attempting to get the Prism. MaNa needs to pay attention. He has blinked now, so it's not as dangerous as it was before. A Disruptor shot not able to connect. Another Disruptor looking elsewhere, as MaNa still playing Disruptorless here. It's a dangerous game, and especially right now, no Prism on the map. These Immortals kind of in an open space. It's a very dangerous game that you're playing. You're going to start seeing some Blink Stalker micro. That's why the Immortals are really going to back this up well. What's that in the middle on the right-hand side? It's the Disruptors. That's what I was going to say. It looks like the Disruptors are flanking here from Astrea. That could go very badly wrong, or very... like, that's a dangerous game you're playing. If MaNa realizes they are there, he actually picks one up in the center already. I think the Disruptors just picked up a couple Stalkers back in the center, and now they've recalled home, so it's going to be okay. They're going to get out. Oh, that was a dangerous game you were playing there as Astrea, as MaNa. He knows about these Disruptors. He goes in, he kills one, not the one that was firing, but then he blinks back anyway. Again, the Immortals are really the backbone that MaNa has the advantage with. DT's on the way as well, though. There are definitely things MaNa has to look at here as he's getting his first few Zealots up and running. Stag defense on mass again from Astrea. He is just saying, you are never allowed to attack into my bases. Hey, that's a few minerals going down. He's not canceling any of those, so that's money down the drain from Astrea. That was just a bunch of batteries slash pallets slash cans. I don't know what exactly it was, but that was a bunch of money spent that just did not provide any value at all. Prism has to stay safe. Remember, you need reinforcements into this fight if MaNa wants to keep on being aggressive. He backed away from the super battery. I mean, this is frustrating for MaNa as well, though, because this is a setup right now where Astrea's just like, if I have enough Stag defense, you can never attack into me. You can never take, advantage of your advantage, which is kind of true. You can't really. And Astrea is about to get map control back a little bit because he's going to take the DTs onto the map. And with DTs, it's probably going to force MaNa back without Astrea having to, utilize what is now a smaller army. So Astrea has a technique or a way right now to maybe bring this back a little bit. Imagine Immortals with Blink. Yeah, it's called a Warp Prism, mate. They basically have Blink. Okay, they can't blink forward aggressively, but they can blink back. it's halfway there, That's going to be seen as Stalker still hanging around, and MaNa is going to back it up. Tense game, isn't it? MaNa's got this lead. It feels important to take this map for a bit of security in the overall Team League series. Astrea is behind, but he's got the Disruptors, and you never call a PvP game over when Disruptors are in play, right? Those couple of Disruptor shots don't go far. Now, MaNa's actually got a surround on this army coming in. He's going to blink through. He's going to be able to find some of these Disruptors. I don't know which ones are actually available to fire. It might have been those ones. He's also going to kind of bloody block the Stalkers from going back up this ramp, giving the Immortals a chance to catch back up. MaNa kind of blinks again, blinks once more. I mean, he cleans out the Disruptor count. I'm not sure if it was really good or not. This was such a weird fight, as MaNa is still just playing Stalker Immortal, and the DTs are going to be a problem. They're about to have DT Blink available to them as well, as MaNa is up 9 in a 4th base. He is still down the attack upgrade as well, remember. He's still down an entire +1, so it's +3, +2 at the moment. And that's something that Astrea has had in pretty much every fight, the upgrade advantage. As maybe now we see an Immortal go down. Not enough Stalkers firing on it before Astrea blinked back defensively. MaNa maintaining the worker lead, maintaining the army lead, checking for these bases and knowing that his map control can result in him denying these bases right now and keeping that advantage. He's going to see Stalkers in the center of the map. He's going to blink away. Astrea is going to make a move. He has a recall home, remember. So this is Astrea abusing a bit of his own mobility once again because it's purely Stalkers instead of just Stalker Immortal. He can recall out of here if he feels like this is getting dangerous. Not so much, though, if MaNa jumps on him, and Astrea's going to be just outnumbered here. Astrea blinks away, but remember, MaNa will have another blink in a moment to get back on top, and he will continue to just do way more damage. Upgrades help, but not that much. Now MaNa has to be a bit more careful because the Disruptors are there. He's going to blink in, he's going to find one, he's going to find two. Another good reset on the Disruptor count, and Astrea knows it. There's another one in the middle of the map as well. Disruptor disaster for Astrea here. There's only 2 Disruptors remain, and MaNa knows there's only 2 Disruptors remaining. There's one more. He's in range of it, though. His shot's not going to go off. And with the Immortals here, MaNa's going to have a lot of power. The Robos are exposed to the front as well, and MaNa's going to push on through. Team Liquid looking as though they might be able to retie this series. Additional Stalkers warping in. What does Astrea want to do? I was going to say maybe you can't go for the Prism, but I think if you go for the Prism, you lose so much in the process. It's probably just not worthwhile, as Immortals and Stalkers going to demolish on this side. That's a massive Disruptor shot on the Immortals, though. If there's ever a way to turn a game around, it would be Disruptor shots like that one. Jeez. As Roddy would say, geez Louise, but it's not enough. And MaNa blinks forward, kills the Disruptor as well. He's going to clean out that 3rd base. We are going to get tied up yet again here in AlphaX versus Team Liquid. MaNa makes it work. The Stalker Immortal play. Ooh, not what you usually see. Not what you usually see at all.